The night was dark and stormy, with lightning flashes illuminating the sky and thunder rumbling in the distance. In a small town, a group of teenagers huddled together in an old abandoned house, telling each other ghost stories to pass the time. They laughed and joked, not realizing that they were about to experience a terror beyond anything they had ever imagined. As they were finishing up their last story, they heard a strange noise coming from the basement. At first, they thought it was just the wind, but the noise continued, growing louder and more insistent. They tried to ignore it, but their curiosity got the better of them, and they decided to investigate. They made their way down to the basement, their flashlights flickering in the darkness. As they descended the stairs, they noticed that the temperature was dropping rapidly, and their breath was visible in the air. The basement was musty and damp, with cobwebs clinging to the walls, and the floor littered with debris. Suddenly, one of the teenagers let out a scream, and the others rushed to her side. She was pointing at the corner of the room, where a figure was hunched over, its back to them. It was difficult to see in the dim light, but they could tell that it was covered in matted hair, and its limbs were thin and twisted. They tried to back away, but the figure turned around, revealing its face. It had glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce right through them, and its mouth was filled with razor-sharp teeth. The teenagers screamed in terror as the creature lunged towards them, its claws outstretched. They ran up the stairs, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they burst out into the night air, they realized that they were not alone. The creature was following them, its howls echoing through the darkness. They could hear its ragged breaths and feel its hot breath on their necks. They ran through the town, trying to find a place to hide, but the creature was always one step behind them. They could hear it getting closer and closer, its footsteps pounding on the pavement. They were running out of options, and they knew that they had to face the creature head on. They turned to face the creature, ready to fight for their lives. But as they raised their weapons, they realized that the creature was not alone. Dozens of other monsters had joined it, all with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth. The teenagers fought as hard as they could, but the creatures were too strong. They were quickly overwhelmed, and one by one, they fell to the ground. As they lay dying, they could hear the creatures laughing, their howls echoing through the night. The next morning, the townspeople found the bodies of the teenagers scattered throughout the town. They were torn and mutilated, their faces frozen in expressions of terror. No one knew what had happened that night, but the townspeople knew that they would never forget the horror that had descended upon their town.